So today is the first day of the project of working here in Pabineau, right in front of the old fire station here. What I'm going to be working on is creating these boxes. We're going to be making 4 of them. They're 8 feet by 4 feet wide. 4 of them that'll be part of the teachings to start the conversation of the talking circle. So these 4 faces is a representation of the mask that I make from the mask medicine. So this is another way to plant that seed into the minds of the people in the community about the mask and what they're used for and how we can use them, and to also use 3-dimensional form to share oral stories and teachings. So with this particular project, the day 1 is building 4 boxes. We just got 1 up, 3 more to go. They'll be facing in the 4 directions, the north, south, east, and west. But this time they'll be facing inwards to represent that talking circle, and to have people come in and share their stories about the talking circle or whatever they want to share. And it's another way of using song, the ones that people know how to sing, the ones that have storytelling, and the ones that carve, to come together and share within those stories within the community. A good way for socializing. So this is the start of doing it. This whole project is based on that. So today, 1, build them, get the snow blower in here. So we'll take all the snow, we'll get the snow blower to come in. He's going to basically junk all the snow up, turn it to a pile of snow in front of the box, probably get as close as we can. And then once that's done, you take the blower and chump up all the snow, especially when it's all crusty like this. You want to crust it all up and then get it into a nice fine powdery paste, and launch it right into the box. Once it's in the box, it'll sit there for 24 hours. When it's sitting in the box for 24 hours, it allows the weight of it to compress, to push everything down that way it needs to be. And then on Monday, I'll come back in. That'll be day 2, which will be starting to do the sculpture. And that'll go on. It takes me anywhere between 16 hours to 18 hours sometimes to do 1 sculpture. So I'll be here each and every day working on the sculptures, and I use a machete, an axe, and some hand saws, and that's all I use. I don't use any chang saws or power saws. It's all about that connection with the snow, with the land, and really focusing on taking the time to build these things. So let's see how we go. My main carving tool is a spade shovel. That takes away a lot of the big unwanted space or unwanted snow that needs to be removed. I compare this to a V-gouge when it comes to carving tools. The other one I like to use is a machete that has a blade on it. So what this will allow me to do will be I'm able to cut the corners, but I'm also able to reach further. And this is more or less for trimming. So I'll use the blade for trim, and I can put two hands onto it, I can pull down. So it gives me a little more access, so it gets rid of the snow a lot quicker. So that's again for moving the bigger parts after using my other awesome tool is a hacksaw. Hacksaw, I got a shorter one and a longer one. Again, that's for taking away large chunks. An axe to get into the smaller areas. And then a round gouge. This here you'll be using, and this is a wood carving tool actually for hollowing out things. So I'll use two of these. This here has a more of a C gouge, like it's more of a roundness to it compared to this one. And this one here is, these are the ones I'll use for scooping out the eyes. So these are actually wood tools that I will use for carving the mask. Use an axe for further reach. I gotta get higher up where I won't reach with the smaller ones. A bigger axe to get to the edges, more fine lines. This is like the Cadillac for carving wood. It's an adze. Really good to get flat surfaces to move your snow, take away big chunks, but actually being able to do it with more control than you would with an axe or a machete or a saw. And when you get to the finer details around the eyes, it's a regular buck knife where I can start doing the details, pulling out the eyelids, making the eyes itself, the hole in the eye for the pupil. That comes down to the finer detail. I also use a draw knife if I need it, just to hollow, just to make surfaces a little more flat instead of, so when you hit it with a knife or like with a machete, if there's any ice, you're making big chunks. This gives you a little more control so you don't have chunky snow falling out and creating more of a mess. And then a homemade gouge, round gouge for scooping out. That one's really good too. So those are my main tools that I use for snow sculpting. My main ones that I would use, I would say 80% of the carving are these two. Oh, and this guy. So this one here I use, these three are my 85% through the whole carving. These here. Then the other ones are just for fine tuning. And if you have ice, then I'll actually go to wood carving tools if it's finer detail. And then that's how we come up with one of those giant faces.
Another Mi'kmaq word I have for you is apchalasi, which means welcome. It's my story, my life.
All right, so we're here on day 2. I'll be opening up another box. This one here will be, that one's east, west. So we'll be heading this direction here. I'll be taking the box apart. Once I open it up, I'll do my, where I bring in the songs for the ceremony to bring in the ancestors, invite the ones here, you know, the ones that'll be stopping by today. To opening that door, right? Allowing for that safe place. And then play a song for the gathering to honor that. And I always invite the ones that help me out within on this journey that I'm on, right? So through that, again, it's practicing and putting in the culture anytime that I can and living in a good way. And this is how I do it. So once I take it down, I'll be able to start carving, get into that connection with the snow. And yesterday, when I was working in the east, I just finally finished the one, and then a big gush of wind come down and pushed her over, which was a really, really satisfying moment, to be honest with you. It was really neat to see it at its finest. Usually it takes about 2 to 3 weeks, but this time it actually happened to fall down. As we're talking and sharing the stories and the ideas of why we're here, and why I'm doing what I'm doing, right at the very end, after talking about the ones that we knew out in Nova Scotia, and we kind of had familiar people in our lives that we could share stories about, and right as we're talking about with this one dude named Sparks, I always saying, hey, Mr. Sparks, I found out that he passed away, and then a big gush of wind come down, and the east face fell down, like it went to rest. It was a really neat moment. So with that being said, today that kind of goes down into the point of like today, day 2, is based on carving this one and not getting deterred from the one that fell over. I could have easily turned into going, oh man, I put all that time and effort and blah, blah, blah. I could have got really negative about it, but it's a teaching tool. I put all that effort into it and it really helped out. So today I'll be focused all my energy on this side here, on this direction, and really get in touch with it, and then work on hopefully in this direction over here, and then that'll allow me to just concentrate on what's here now and be in the moment and see what happens. Maybe that one just wants to lay down, who knows, you know, or maybe it'll be build another one. Even though it's all about the talking circle, it's still developing conversations, it's still having that story being told, it's becoming its own story, which is the beautiful part about this process of carving and working with the snow. It's unpredictable. You never really know what's going to happen. That was perfect proof on how it fell over. So today, I'm just going to continue moving forward on day 2. The objective is to carve another face. It's a beautiful day. It's a lot colder than yesterday. Yesterday was really mild, so the sun really came out and gave the snow a beating, and just made it weak and fell over. And that was the first time in my sculpting career when I worked with snow that the sculpture fell over within the same day that I carved it. So it was a very humbling moment and humbling experience, which was, I was glad to be part of it. your mind, body, and spirit work together. So spiritually, I'm using it through music and song and culture, understanding, focusing my energy on that. Mentally, I'm carving. There's a technique to go along with it. I'm also educating myself on looking for the knowledge, finding the ones that have it, listening to stories, educating myself so I can inculcate or put that into the carvings that I'm doing. And then physical workout. So I'm constantly working on strengthening those within my life so I live a good life. It's all about taking care of yourself on what you eat first. So what you eat really, when I come here, I have to have a good meal, lots of carbs, have my vegetables, keep my brain going, have that fish so it helps the neurotransmitters within your brain to fluctuate properly. And then my carbs, it gives me the energy to do what I need to do for a long period of time. Burn that off, have lots of liquid, lots of water, and then have that physical workout. And then the fruits and vegetables, well, that's to feed the brain. So, I'm working on a good level. I'm not tired, lethargic, those sort of things, and getting the fresh air. So all those are very important. So that's another big part of carving when you're outside in the elements, right? And especially in the winter, because you'll burn way more energy than you would if you're in the summer, because your body's constantly trying to stay heated. And the big thing a lot of people ask is, when you're standing outside, aren't you cold? The key trick to that is layers. You wear layers upon layers. So I have, I have a tank top on, then I have a long sleeve shirt, or a tank top, t-shirt, long sleeve, and then another kind of woolly shirt, and then my jacket. So as you start carving, you'll start heating up, you'll peel a layer off. Keep carving, peel another layer off. So that way you're controlling your sweat. Because if you get your back soaked in sweat, and you're carving, you take a break and you stop, that sweat's going to freeze, you're going to get your core even colder, then you're not going to last. So that's another way of understanding the elements. It's not that you're understanding how the weather works outside within the winter, how to push yourself long periods of time, which also educates me when I go snowshoeing, so I'm not overdressing. It's all those things come into factors. It's not just carving, it's the process, it's the journey, it's the understanding leading up to the end result. There's a lot of work that goes into it. And a lot of people are afraid of hard work, and I'm not, because it's what I love to do every day. I want to be able to be still moving when I'm 80 years old and be able to walk on my own. And the best way to do that is be in the elements, appreciate the weather, take care of yourself mentally, physically, spiritually, and I believe you'll be okay.